Welcome to the program today. You're at a Constitutionalist with Michael Marsh. Hello, I'm Tatiana, and I am the host in sorts today. Today we have, of course, Michael Marsh himself, and we're going to get to ask him some questions about not only the presidential race, but also about his race for the Secretary of State. So I personally am voting for Michael Marsh come this November 8th, and I hope that by the end of the program you will too and join me in this. It's a very important election. So, Mike, let's begin. Can you talk a little bit about this presidential race? It's been a very heated race. A lot of things are coming out about corruption, and if you could just talk about that and how you view it.
Yeah, I noticed it was in the paper today that only 20% of the people that are eligible to vote actually have voted so far. And at this point in the election cycle, there's usually at least half. Yeah. And, you know, it should be at least 30%. But you know, in talking to people, a lot of people are afraid to vote. And that's sad, you know, which is maybe why we need more than just Democrat and Republican parties. But, you know, a lot of people, they look at it, okay, they consider Trump to be a jerk. And everybody knows that Hillary's, you know, corrupt. You know, even the people that are holding up the signs, are putting her signs in their yard, they know she's corrupt. And that, the sad thing is, Donald Trump at least wants to clean it up. And right now, 6 of the 10 richest counties in America are suburbs of Washington, D.C. That is not capitalism. That is corruption. And all of those attorneys, and that's who's doing it, is the attorneys, they're all supporting Hillary. The banks and corporations that those attorneys work for, they are supporting Hillary. The Bush-Rockefeller wing of the Republican Party is all supporting Hillary. And while the Bushes and the Rockefellers and those people, they appreciate that she's corrupt, there's another agenda as well. You know, what the elder Bush called a new world order, which is their goal of a global corporate state. And Bill Clinton, when he was president, he would talk about that. All of the economy of the world would go through a small group of corporations. And they're working on that. Hillary likes to tout her role in passing Dodd-Frank. At that time, there were 10 giant banks. Now there are 5. And there used to be thousands of community banks. Okay. And the community banks, they're the ones that make the small loans to people getting started. Right. That allows the economy to, you know, like if I have an idea but I need about 3 or 4 people to hire to work with me to do it, it's the small community banks that would make that loan. They're gone. Most of these banks are gone now. Yeah. And Dodd-Frank is the reason, and it was designed that way. You know, she said, "Oh, we're just trying to clean it up." No, they weren't. They were trying to, you know, it's not an accident. You know, the term "too big to fail." The corporations that were too big to fail were the ones that owed money to Goldman Sachs. You know, that is not capitalism, that is corruption. And Donald Trump understands that the system is corrupt. And the corrupt people are all supporting Hillary for a reason, you know, because she's part of that corruption. She's been part of that corruption for 30 years. And so the country can survive a jerk. The country cannot survive the corruption. You know, if you want, you know, when Hillary says that the rich have gotten richer and the poor have gotten poorer, that's true. Okay, But why is that true? Yeah, that she doesn't really talk about, because she's a major part of that. Because, okay, when I was growing up, about 80% of the people, that there were two-parent households, and one would work, and the other one would take care of the children.
Right.
Okay, that's pretty hard to do right now.
Yes.
And because of Democrat policies, including Obamacare, it's hard to get full-time work right now. It's usually about 20 hours a week, and and so 2 or 3 jobs, and if you're going to school at the same time, the European Union and NAFTA, and now Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Right.
And it's more than trade. There, each of these things are thousands and thousands of pages long. I mean, you can make a trade deal a lot quicker, shorter than that. But they're also merging the government as well as the economy into one unit, and the people at the top are going to be super rich, and the people that are not at the top, we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be very poor. So, and Trump understands that, so I would go with the jerk. I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Now, some people consider Donald Trump to not be a jerk, but he's just voicing what a lot of the people have already been saying. He just says it in a manner that's not polished politician. And so how do you feel? Do you think that Donald Trump is really truly a jerk, or is he just saying what the people have been wanting to hear all along?
Well, a lot of people want to hear it. But he is perceived, especially by a lot of people your age, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate.
But he's saying what needs to be said, and he isn't, he says things and then he says, well, I could have worded that a little bit better, and most of the time he could have. But he is right, it is major corruption, and the country cannot survive forever with the corruption. And Hillary just more of the same. And we're already, because, okay, General Electric, for instance, they have 900 attorneys. Okay, so they can not only write laws, but the laws they don't write, they have attorneys to deal with and figure out how to get around them. But if I start up a business, I'm not going to have 900 attorneys. I'm not, and you got 85,000 pages of tax law, just the tax law, and you've got another, probably at least 1 million pages of regulations. Okay, they made it so, it's just simpler to move the corporations out of the United States into another country, and that's. It hurts.
It's obviously getting rid of the jobs that people in my generation are desperately needing as soon as they get out of college or as soon as they get out of school. And they're all going across the border, which is one of the big things Donald Trump has run on, and I think it's a valid point he's making. So as far as corruption goes, one of the biggest things with corruptions, of course, is Hillary Clinton and her great big email scandals that keep getting more and more publicity.
And not just the emails, but the Clinton Foundation with her husband and her daughter and her, and they sell to foreign countries as well as the international banks and corporations. They give Bill and the Clinton Foundation have $500,000 or $1 million or whatever, and Oh yeah. Next thing you know, they're having a conversation with Madam Secretary.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Coinky-dink? I think not.
No.
Not a coincidence.
Not even close to being a coincidence.
Right.
You know, and then of course you do have the emails, which she lied to the FBI, and that's another part of the corruption. When Comey said he wasn't going to prosecute her, he didn't say she hadn't violated the law. He just said there weren't any prosecutors who would prosecute.
Right.
And at the same time, he's giving this little speech. His boss, and the boss of the prosecutors, is on a plane with Hillary Clinton to a campaign rally where he's supporting her.
Right. Right.
Now, regular people, yeah, you get arrested and you go to jail, and they don't do any of that for the political class, and that's been going on a long time. And so, one thing I love about Donald Trump is he says he's going to put Hillary in prison.
A special prosecutor just for her.
And maybe he should put about half the people in the Justice Department in prison with her,
Right.
For allowing this to go on. Yeah.
And the more it goes on, the more it becomes apparent that this Justice Department is in question.
Yeah.
And that's a big concern for this nation if the Justice Department is crooked.
Yeah. If I were running for Congress, I would say get rid of them. That would be my issue. But the corruption just isn't at the federal level. It's
Right.
statewide.
Right.
And that's one of the good things about running for Secretary of State is the audit division.
Yeah. Let's move to that. Let's talk about what is some of the roles of Secretary of State, and how are you planning to deal with those roles compared to your opponents?
Okay. Well, there's several things. The audit division, which is very important if you want an honest government.
Yeah.
And there's the corporate division, and there's the land use board, along with, and on that one there's also the governor and the state treasurer.
Okay.
And then there's the elections division. And the auditing, now you're supposed to just audit the government itself, keep the government honest. Yeah. Now, one of my opponents, Brad Avakian, he wants to go after private entities, which is very dangerous on several levels. One of which is, what company's going to? You look at his past record. $135,000 fine for a couple not making a wedding cake for a lesbian couple. $400,000 fine to a bar in Portland that told some transgenders that he would prefer they come other nights rather than Friday nights. One night, and he gives out these insane fines, which are also unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Because if anything civil matter over $5,000, you're supposed to have a right to a jury trial, but he's just arbitrarily handing out these fines. And so what company is going to want to do business when they got some nut job looking over their shoulder? Even, it's unconstitutional what he'd be doing, but, who's going to stop him? Right.
Right.
Kate Brown, the Attorney General, assuming that the current Attorney General gets reelected, they're not going to stop him. They haven't stopped him in the past.
Right.
So, and if I was a pastor, or if I was part of a church that had a school, and a lot of them do, they need to be really worried about this guy, because most of them are nonprofits.
Right.
They're part of they're nonprofit corporation, so they are technically doing business with the state.
Yes, yeah.
And that's what he said. Yeah, he says he wants to go after anybody doing business with the state.
Oh, wow.
So pastors, if he's elected, they're going to be told, okay, you've got to start performing gay marriages. And if they don't, going to shut them down.
Get an audit.
Yeah, or try to shut them down. And if the school isn't providing transgender bathrooms, shut them down. Because now it'd be a misuse of the office. But like I said, he had misused his office before. He has a long history of that.
Yeah. And where does it end?
Yeah, and it doesn't if he gets elected.
Yeah.
So what I would do, I would audit every agency in the state, but I would not audit private entities. Although sometimes, private entities are doing business with the state. And I would, for instance, the Cover Oregon insurance plan,
Right.
What was it, a little over $200 million, and it didn't work. I would want to know why.
Yeah.
And
The American people want to know why.
Yeah.
The Oregonians
yeah,
need to know why.
and that would be a proper job of the Secretary of State to find out why. Another problem with the Columbia River crossing, they were planning to build a bridge, and it was something like $300-400 million, and they didn't do anything. Nothing was done to make that bridge, but all that money's gone. And why? Where did that money go? And then when she does, like at the Cover of Oregon, the Attorney General went and hired a Portland law firm, even though she heads the largest law firm in the state, which is the Attorney General's office. She went and said, okay. And she hired a Portland law firm that has a history of financing, giving money to Democrat politicians. Hello.
Yeah.
And then they made some kind of deal, settled out of court. Yeah. Now, Secretary of State, it's not his or her job to prosecute, but you could be a voice saying, hey, wait a minute, this is what was done wrong, why aren't you doing something about it? And you could find other issues, if you're finding waste, and there's probably more waste than, well, the corruption and waste kind of go hand in hand. You give the Democrat donors these jobs, and the money just, expand and expands.
Right.
And so, an honest audit would clear a lot of that up, and you could make it more public, and that's something that needs to be done. And probably the only one that wouldn't do it is Brad Avakian, because he's part of that Democratic circle. They're his donors.
Yeah. Follow the money.
Yeah.
Follow the money. Okay. So you also mentioned land use. Now, how does the Secretary of State deal with land use, and why is that important?
Well, it's very important because the state, when Oregon was created, they set aside a lot of land to be used for financing the state, especially education.
Okay.
And so the land use board decides how that money is to be spent. Now, Brad Avakian, this is where there would be differences of opinion between myself and some of the other candidates.
Okay.
Now, Bradabakian, he only wants to put up windmill farms and solar panel farms and all that stuff, which I'm against. He also wants to do geothermal, which I would go along with.
Okay.
But I would not do the solar panels because, for one thing, there's no evidence that they work. As far as sending it, to, not cost effective. We're not. The technology isn't there yet. I mean, it may be someday, but I would hold off until it is there.
Right.
And the windmills, it's more expensive than the coal and the natural gas, but it also kills birds. And why should we have the extra money spent and kill birds? I would say no on that. I would use the geothermal, and I'd be willing to use the out on the coast. The trillions of square feet of natural gas.
Right.
Why not use it? It's there and it's
Right.
clean, and I'm not adverse to chopping down some trees and replanting. I would replant.
Right, definitely.
I would not, like right now, they've got a sale going on of the land, of some of that land, or one of the parcels. The land was set aside to be used for education. It was specifically given to the state for that purpose. Now, I would not sell any land, but I would allow companies to come in and harvest the lumber, and as long as they promise to replant and make sure the streams are good, and they're having to do this anyway. But keep the land, and then 30 years from now you can sell it again.
Yeah.
Instead of.
And time again, it's been shown that private people take better care of forests than do our governments. So that's something that if you were able to have the private citizen take care of land instead of government tax dollars, it'd probably be a lot more effective. So we've talked about the audits division, the use of land. There's the elections division. That seems like a place where corruption could happen.
Yeah, the Secretary of State was in the paper either a day or yesterday saying that it's impossible to rig elections here. Okay, now it used to be, and Kate Brown changed the law, that at the end of the election, like this year it'd be the 8th, okay, when everybody's through voting, they were supposed to get rid of the ballots, the ones that hadn't been used. Okay, Multnomah County Clerk's office was caught hanging on to these ballots, and many people believe they were still using them after the vote was taken. And so instead of throwing the Multnomah County Clerk in jail where she belonged, Kate Brown, who was Secretary of State at the time, asked the legislature to change the law so that they could hold on to the ballots until they were through counting them. I would change it back. And I would put in a thing that if they get caught with them, they don't destroy the ballots, they go to jail.
Right.
And another problem that I have with, and this is also Kate Brown, the motor voter. They're automatically registering people to vote when they get their license renewed or get a license to begin with. Now, it takes about 30 seconds to register to vote. If they're not willing to take that 30 seconds, how are they going to be studying the issues and the candidates? How much time are they going to put into being a good voter? a good example would be Measure 97. Here, that's on our ballot. You know, the government unions say, we're going to make the giant multi-state corporations pay their fair share. Sounds good. The legislature, the budget office, the fiscal office, they did a study, and they said they found that 38,000 people are going to lose their job if Measure 97 passes. Okay, the unions aren't talking about that.
No, no, they're not.
Yeah, so, and if you're not paying that much attention, and all you're hearing is, you know, do you want the giant corporations to pay their fair share? Yeah, it's easy to vote for. But, you know, if you do the study and say, hey, 38,000 people are going to lose their jobs, you know, what happens then, you know? So, and they say they're going to be using the money to improve education and health care and for senior care and all that. How? When you got 38,000 more people needing help.
Right.
Yeah, they're lying through their teeth. And it wasn't just the legislature, which, by the way, is run by Democrats, although the office that did the study is nonpartisan. But the unions, their first reaction was they went to, they said, oh, we don't believe that. So they commissioned their own study. And they found the same thing, which is kind of suppressing for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would get rid of that automatic registering people to vote. You know, people need to be able to take the time to vote, to register.
Yeah, they do.
Because they also need to take time to study the issues and the candidates.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, you know, we're in real trouble. Well, we are in trouble. That's why we're in
Yes.
trouble. Yeah, people aren't paying enough attention, you know.
Yes.
And you don't really get enough information in the 30-second sound bites. And not everybody has the hundreds of thousands of dollars necessary to make those 30-second sound bites.
Right. Right. All right. Well, one more measure that is important to college students and people my age is there's a measure that is coming up about colleges joining the stock market, involving their funds in that. Can you explain what that is and why they would want to do that?
Well, they say that it brings in more money. And the university system, Oregon University system, wants to invest in the stock market. And sometimes you can make money on the stock market, sometimes you lose money.
Right.
Now, the reason I voted no on that was because if you say what 1 year you're having a good year, okay, you're making lots of money, okay, you make all these promises, okay, the next year everything falls apart.
Right, right.
Maybe the company you've invested in goes kaput.
Right, right.
So yeah.
So there's lots of risks involved.
And who's going to be stuck with it?
Right,
The taxpayers plus the students themselves are going to be
Right.
charged more.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we thank you for joining us today and hope you have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.